If you're buying a home in San Antonio, there are some that might look like a good deal, but could end up costing you thousands. Today, I'm walking you through 14 types of homes I don't recommend buying unless you meet specific conditions. I'm Krishna Perkins, a San Antonio real estate broker, and I help buyers avoid costly mistakes at every turn possible that I can. The first home you want to avoid purchasing are homes in flood zones. Flash flooding happens here in San Antonio all the time, and it happens faster than people might expect it. Don't buy these homes unless you've checked the floodplain map and priced out flood insurance up front. It's getting more expensive to insure these homes, and in fact, some insurers are even pulling out of markets. So you don't want to get stuck with what's called forced insurance. Okay, and what that basically means is your lender, if your insurance provider cancels, can put what's called forced insurance on your property, and you have to pay those premiums. And it is next to impossible to get that forced insurance removed after you find a more suitable or palatable insurance premium. So don't buy homes that have flood risk unless you can long-term pay for the premiums and potentially pay for an even higher premium should that happen. The next home that you should not buy are homes with major foundation issues. Now, I'm not against homes that have had settling, but foundation repairs aren't always something that you want to be able to tackle on your first home. Okay, foundation repairs aren't always a deal breaker, but don't buy unless you've had it inspected and the price reflects the risk. Where a lot of people miscalculate in homes that have foundation problems is not just the foundation repair itself, but all the other cosmetic repairs that come along with fixing a foundation. For instance, when you re-level a house, you're going to end up typically with cracks in the wall, ceiling, different areas of the house, and also you could potentially end up with damage to the flooring coverings, and all that stuff has to be replaced to make it look finished. And it's not something that can or should be done overnight. In fact, you are supposed to, in many cases, when you have foundation repair done, let the house sit for several months so that everything can settle back down, and then you can come back and put the finishes on the property. So make sure you're calculating based on how detailed the foundation repair is going to be, what the finishing cost of the house is going to cost you. The next home that you should avoid buying are homes with unusual or risky financing. Okay, what do I mean by that? Risky financing, that might include wraparound mortgages, subject to financing, rent to own. These can all be dangerous if you're not experienced. In fact, if you're not an investor, I don't recommend that you get into these situations. If you're simply looking at these types of financing options because maybe your credit's not very good or you're really low on income, I suggest you fix your credit and then come back into the game of home ownership. Now, if you're simply chasing lower rates, you want to check out assumable mortgages. I'll leave a link here in the description. Number 4, homes with poor HVAC or insulation. In Texas, AC isn't optional, it's survival. We really need these air conditioning units to be working in tip-top condition. If the home has a really poor air conditioning unit or it's very old, you could be looking at a really major expense in replacing that air conditioning unit right in the middle of the summer. So if your air conditioning unit that you're looking to purchase, or rather the house that you're looking to purchase, has an old unit, you need to go ahead and factor in the replacement costs of a new air conditioning unit, and it could be several $1,000s to replace both the inside and the outside unit based on the age. Another factor there is the R22 refrigerant. Those are phased out really, and that if it's an older unit, it's going to cost you several $100s per pound to fill that up if you can even find the R22 refrigerant. So keep that in mind when you're looking at homes. How old is the air conditioning unit? What is it going to potentially cost to replace it? And then finally, the insulation. Don't underestimate the power of how that insulation can help you. It's going to keep that air conditioning unit working less, and it's going to keep your house cool over the long run, and ultimately keep you from coming out of pocket too much. Number 5, homes that need hazardous renovations. if the home is pre-1980, be cautious. There could be asbestos, there could be lead-based paint. Both of these are very serious considerations because it increases the cost of the renovations. You're not going to just get somebody to come in and do the repairs or renovations on the home. You have to be licensed to mediate those substances. Okay, you have to remove or encapsulate asbestos and or lead-based paint. So you don't want that to be a problem for you. You can have birth defects with the lead-based paint. You can have cancer issues with breathing in asbestos. So be very cautious when you're looking at an older home, especially if you're considering renovating the home, putting in new windows, putting in a doorway where there's not an existing doorway, removing the siding and putting new siding on. Those have to be done by a professional that has experience and is licensed with the city to do that. Otherwise, you could get yourself into a big bind when you're renovating the home, especially if you don't have a permit for it, and you're dealing with any of those hazardous materials, asbestos and or lead-based paint. So don't buy unless you're financially ready to renovate safely and legally. Number 6, homes with awkward or unchangeable floor plans. This is a big one. I was just walking a house the other day with a friend, and we discovered that that home just really wasn't any way to change the floor plan or open the kitchen up, and that was why the home was on the market. It was a great looking house from the outside. It had a great lot and everything, but the kitchen really didn't work, and with the living room, and there's really not much you could do with the floor plan. So be cognizant of that. If you have an outdated floor plan that you're looking at and there's really nothing that you can do to change that floor plan, you might want to think about that down the road for resale and the inability to change it, what it might cost you to sell it. Number 7, homes are the biggest on the block. Don't buy unless you absolutely need the space. You may have a hard time getting the value back when you sell. So one of the biggest mistakes people make in building or choosing a house in a neighborhood might be that most of the houses in the neighborhood are 1,800 square feet, but you pick that one floor plan that is 2,800 square feet. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb. It's going to, even though it's not too expensive, it's going to look too expensive compared to those other homes. You could end up with astronomically longer market days and take a bigger hit when you sell. So be very careful when choosing a large house. Make sure that the overall neighborhood is a large house neighborhood. And number 8, homes backing to noisy and or commercial zones. Think about highways, train tracks, busy intersections, or shopping centers. Okay, don't buy these unless, number one, there's a significant discount. Think at least 7 to 10% discount. Okay, you want to value the house out, apples to apples, and sometimes it's hard to find homes that are in the same situation that you're in with that house, backing up to that same noisy area. And in that case, you're going to have to pull that 7 to 10% discount against other homes in the neighborhood that are like yours. Okay, these homes sit longer on the market and may require incentives to sell. So be very careful when making offers on homes that sit up against a noisy train track, shopping center, or busy street. Number 9, flipped homes with only cosmetic updates. Remember, granite countertops and paint don't mean it's move-in ready. Okay, think back to some of the earlier things we talked about: air conditioning, foundation, electrical, windows. All those things matter in resale value. If you put 2 or 3 different appraisers in a house, they're going to all come up with different values. And so cosmetic updates can throw appraisers off, and they may value the house too high, and you're going to end up with something that's not worth as much as you thought it was going to be worth. So be very careful when buying cosmetic flipped homes. Number 10, homes without outdoor living space in Texas. Patios and porches matter, especially for resale. Right now, they can be pretty expensive to put in, so be careful. If you think that you're going to add that stuff later, make sure you get excellent pricing up front in what it's going to cost to install something like that. Otherwise, you could be ending up looking at a really big bill for adding it. Now, I think you'll be happy in the end, but you're going to have to budget for that and make sure you can afford to put it in. Number 11, homes with galley kitchens. Don't buy unless you can live with the layout or you're ready to remodel. Okay, think back to the unusable floor plan that we talked about. Galley kitchens take longer to sell and can feel cramped. So buying one with a galley kitchen, a lot of times there's not much you can do to change that, and they absolutely can slow down the sale of a house. In fact, and you may even have to add a discount in there to sell a home with a galley kitchen, especially if it can't be easily changed later on. So I would avoid those if possible. People really want those open kitchen concepts to the living room, so be very careful about the galley kitchens. Number 12, homes with poorly converted garages. A few questions to ask yourself on homes with poorly converted garages is, was it permitted? Is it insulated? Is the garage cooled? And finally, is it normal for the neighborhood? A lot of times you find these garage conversions in neighborhoods where it doesn't make much sense to have a garage conversion, and so it could actually hurt your resale value not having a full garage. So don't buy these unless the garage conversion absolutely works for you and you're comfortable with the resale risk of the garage conversions for that neighborhood. Number 13, homes with poorly enclosed patios. Okay, this kind of is related to garage conversions. There can be a lot of DIYs out there. There could be permitting issues. Some loans will have a problem with DIY sunrooms or conversions, depending on how it was done and whether it was done without permits. But for me, the biggest issue is, and what I found out over the years, is that these patio slabs are not always engineered to be converted into living space. They can be a lot thinner. They're not rated to carry the load of the walls, the extra framing, the roofing materials, and then all the furniture that may go into an enclosed patio. So be very careful when considering a home with an enclosed patio that was not designed as living space. It may be a situation where that enclosed patio is going to be a nightmare later if it separates from the main structure. Number 14, model homes. These are usually the last homes in the neighborhood to sell after prices have peaked. Okay, now they're all often at the front of the neighborhood with high traffic, and you don't want to buy these unless you've done your market research. Are your neighbors paying for the same upgrades, or is most people in the neighborhood kind of going the cheap route and getting just kind of the base model home? So basically, you're looking at buying a potentially overbuilt home in a neighborhood, and you may not see a return on the actual value of the house. Okay, so be very careful when looking at model homes to purchase. Make sure you're getting a great deal. Make sure you're not buying into something that you're expecting a huge return and you're not going to get it. Okay, so these are 14 homes I recommend you avoid unless the numbers and the condition truly make sense for you. If you want help buying smart in San Antonio, avoiding these traps, and maybe even finding off-market deals, check out my Perfect Home Finder service. There's no obligation to buy, just smart help. Thanks for visiting with me, and see you guys on the next video.